श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां भिषजपुरोगिणां निधे सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। वेदव्यासं स्वात्मरूपं सत्यसन्धं परायणं श्रियान्तं जितेन्द्रिये क्रोधं सशिष्यं प्रणमाम्यहम्। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते कृपातमं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। नारायणपरो व्यक्तादण्डमव्यक्तसम्भवं मण्डस्यान्तस्तु मे लोकः सप्तद्वीपा च मेदिनी। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणे स्वयं व्यासेन कृतितां पुराणमुनिनां मध्ये महाभारतमध्ये तामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीमष्टादशाध्यायिनीं अम्बा त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्भीषणे। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। अवतीर्णश्च कालट्यां केदयन्त्रितश्च चतुष्पीठप्रतिष्ठाता यदा शङ्करो गुरुः। So we're looking in the 15th chapter. We're looking at the 10th shloka. So this is in response to a doubt from Arjuna, where he thinks he asks that in the case of ignorant man, because Bhagavad was trying to explain now how Karma-Yogi is untainted by the results of his action, and Arjuna, that is in response to Arjuna's question, where he thinks that in the case of an ignorant man who surely becomes tainted on account of his idea of agentship. So that being said, how can he have this jnana nishtata, steadfastness in the knowledge preceded by sannyasa? So Bhagavan to that, Bhagavan says that, but as to that man who is not the knower of truth, the ignorant man and engaged in action, he says the brahmanyadaya कर्माणि संगम त्यक्ता करोति यः लिप्यते न स पापेन padmapatram vambasa. He says that the one who acts by dedicating the karmas, actions to Brahman, but to Ishvara, by renouncing the attachment, he does not become polluted by the sin, and just as the lotus leaf not by the water. Just that the explanation, and Acharya Bhashya, he explains, Shankara Bhagavad Pada explains here, saying that on the other hand again, Brahmani Ishvare Adaya Nikshiptya Tadartam Karma Karomi iti Bhritya Iva Swamyartam Sarvani Karmani Mokshe Api Phale Sangam Tyakta Karotiha Sarva Karmani. So on the other hand, the one who is ignorant of this truth, this Brahman Tattva, one who is ignorant of that and is engaged in the Karma Yoga, who acts by dedicating, by surrendering all the karmas, all the actions to Brahman, to Ishvara, with the idea that I am working for him, I am a servant, does everything for his master, Swamyartham. So I'm doing for my Swami. So I'm a servant, I'm doing everything for for the master. So, and by renouncing the attachment, even with regard to resulting moksha, so sarva karmani moksha api phale sangam tyakta. So he removes every attachment, and such a person lippete nasa papena na sambandhyate padmapatra vambasa udakena. So Acharya says that here, so such a person who performs any karma he is performing, he dedicates that to Ishvara with the idea that I'm working for him, I am a servant, I'm doing everything for my master. When he thinks like that, such an ignorant person, when he performs such a karma yoga, he na lipyate, he does not get polluted, or he is not affected by sin, papena, by sin. Iva means just as Padmapatra Ivambasa. So he is just as Padmapatra, the lotus leaf is not by the water, just like that he is not lippate. He is not affected, polluted by that. So again, the one who acts by dedicating the actions. Again, actions here both Laukika and Vaidika. The mundane actions and the Vaidika actions, the rituals as said in the Shastras, one performs. When he dedicates those to Brahman, this Paramatma Supreme Ishvara, when he does that by renouncing attachment, desire and attachment here as again desire for results, the actions with attitude like फलाभिलाषं त्वक्तेश्वरार्थं भृत्यैव स्वाम्यर्थं स्वफलनिरपेक्षया तदा. So here Srimad Saraswati says that I act for Ishvara like a servant for his master, irrespective of any result accruing from myself. So irrespective of any result, whether it is Papa or Punya, everything is up for you. Bhagavan, I am off doing this for you. Right? So he does not get polluted by the sin. That is to say, so by the actions leading to virtue or vice, just as the lotus leaf is not wet by the water thrown on it, it does not get become wet. Just like that, or even though it is sitting on top of the water, it does not get and there is no, it does not get wet. Just like that, action done with the idea of dedicating to Ishvara results only in purification of the mind. It does not result in any papa or punya. And that very idea, Bhagavan expounds saying in the next part here, he says that again, Acharya also explains that sattva shuddhi matrameva phalam tasya karmanah syat. So the only result that will certainly accrue from such an action is the purification of the heart, purification. So that mind gets purified, and that's being said, and that's because why it purifies. Bhagavan says in the next shloka, we see that where he says that kayena manasa buddhya kevalairindrayairapi yoginah karma kurvanti sangam tyaktatma shuddhaye. Kayena manasa buddhya kevalairindrayairapi yoginah karma kurvanti sangam tyaktatma shuddhaye. By giving up attachment, the yogis undertake the work, karmas, merely through the body, mind, intellect, and even organs for the purification of themselves. Kayena with the body, manasa is with mind, buddhya is with intellect, kevalai means only, merely, indriya means with the senses, api even, yogina the yogis, karma means actions, kurvanti perform, sangam attachment, tyaktva giving up, atma is the self, shuddhaye means for purification. So here again, the Bhashya says that since by giving up the attachment with the regard to results, so Sangam is attachment with regard to the results. Yoginaha, the yogis, the men of karma, men who perform karmas, those karma yogis, undertake the karmas merely, kevala shabda, Kayadivirapi pratyekam sambadhyate. So Acharya here says that this kevala sambandha, so kevalaihi, this word should be attached to all the other things that's coming up now. So kayena, manasa, buddhya, indriya. So for all this, we should attach the kevala shabda. So merely, so it should be saying that only, okay, so it is performing the karma merely sarva vyapareshu mamata varjanaya. So as to deny the idea of agentship with regard to all the actions, he should through the body, kevalai kayena. So merely through the body, kevalai manasat, and through merely the mind, buddhya. Kevalai, here again, kevalai, through merely the intellect, and even through the organs, even merely through the organs which are devoid of the idea of ownership, whatever he performs, whether it is through the body, manas, buddhi, or indriyas, which are devoid of the idea of ownership, which are unassociated with the ownership, like Ishvara Yaiva Karma Karomi Na Mama Phalaya. I act only for Ishvara, not for my gain. So when he does that, he does that for Atma Shuddhaye, for purification of themselves. That is, Yoginaha Karmina Karma Kurvanti Sangam Tyakta Pala Vishayam Atma Shuddhaye Sattva Shuddhaye. So because they should do this for the purification of the Atma, purification of the heart or the mind, therefore you have competence only for that. So Bhagavan here telling Arjuna that you have competence only for that, performing this Karma Yoga, not Karma-Sanyasa. So again, remember, this chapter started asking by Arjuna asking why Karma Sannyasa, I should not perform Karma Sannyasa, and not why you are asking me to Karma Yoga. Which one is the Shrestha, right? And Bhagavan says that Karma Yoga is Shrestha. And he says that why it is Shrestha? Because you perform that, then your Atma becomes, your mind becomes Sattva Atma Shuddhi, Sattva Shuddhi. So your mind, heart becomes pure, and that's why you are competent for only for that, and that's why you undertake action alone, you undertake karma alone. That's what Bhagavan says. Again, once again, by giving up the attachment to the results, the yogis of the men of karmas undertake the karmas through the body, through the mind, through the buddhi, through the organs. The meaning again here is that through the body and so on, which are bereft of the idea of me and mine, and under the idea of I work for Ishvara alone and not for myself, for the purification of the minds, they do it. Now, and a doubt comes in Arjuna's mind. Okay, again, the shloka here does not say that there is a doubt coming from Arjuna, but Bhashyakara, Sri Shankaracharya and Sri Madhusudana Saraswati and these people who give us this linkage between the shloka. So why the next shloka comes? What is the link between this shloka and the other shloka? They explain us saying that there was a doubt in Arjuna's mind. That doubt is, although the idea of agentship is equally present, yet someone becomes liberated through that same karmas, whereas someone becomes bound. So when you perform the karmas, it exists in this agentship exists in everybody, right? Because we are all avidyas, ignorance. So when it exists, someone becomes liberated, that purification happens, and someone still get attachment and bound by this samsara. What is the reason for this disparity? Why that happens? So to that, Bhagavan explains. He says that in the next shloka, we look at in the 12th shloka of this adhyaya, where Bhagavan says that yuktaha karma balam tyaktva shanti mapnoti naishtikim ayuktaha kamagarena phale sakto nibadhyate. Yukta karma balam tyaktva shanti mapnoti naishtikim ayuktaha kamagarena phale sakto nibadhyate. So giving up the result of the karmas by becoming resolute in faith, one attains peace arising from the steadfastness. One who is lacking in resolute faith, being attached to the results under the impulsion of desire, becomes bound. So you are answering two things. One, how one becomes liberated, another one becomes bound by the same karmas. Why, how that happens? Bhagavan explains in the shloka. So yuktaha means the one who is united in consciousness with Ishvara. Karma palam is the result of the karmas, the activities, actions. Tyaktva means giving up. Shanti means peace. Apnoti attains. Naishtikim means everlasting. Ayuktaha means the one who is not united with Ishvara in the consciousness, in his mind, in his results. Karma karena, kama karena means impelled by desires. Phale means in the result. Sakta means attached. Nibadhyate means becomes entangled. So again, that doubt arises why somebody get liberated and somebody gets attached. Bhagavan says that giving up the results of the karmas by becoming resolute in faith, by having the conviction that Ishvaraya karmani karomi na mama phalaya. So actions are for Ishvara, not for my gain. With that resolute faith, yuktaha, by becoming resolute in that faith, having that conviction, one attains peace, shanti, that is called moksha. One attains that arising from the steadfastness, that continuously performing that nishtata, one attains that. So karma phalam tyaktva parityajya shanti mokshakhyam apnoti naishtikim nishtayam bhavam sattva-shuddhi jnana prapti sarva karma-sanyasa jnana nishta krameneti vakyasheshaha. So Acharya here says that it is understood that he attains this through the stages of purification of heart, so purification of the mind, so the antakarana shuddhi, and acquisition of knowledge. So this happens in stages, so purification of the mind and antakarana heart and things like that, and then acquisition of knowledge, renunciation of all the karma, then the karma-sanyasa, and finally steadfastness in the jnana itself, jnana nishtata. So there are stages: sattva-shuddhi, jnana-prapti, sarva-karma-sanyasa, and then jnana nishta. So the jnana nishtata stage is the moksha. So that one, when you have that, so you have to go through that stages. So first stage here is sattva shuddhi, and for that one should perform karma sannyas, karma yoga. So by giving up the results, Ishvaraya karmani karomi. So my actions are for Ishvara. All my actions are for Ishvara. I'm dedicating it to him and not for my gain. Thinking like that one, such a person attains moksha. Not immediately, but through the stages. Stages are again sattva siddhi, jnana prapti, sarva karma sannyasa, so and then jnana nishtata. So these are the stages. So by renouncing the results of the work, who is engaged in the karma yoga, one who has the idea that these works, these karmas I am performing are for Ishvara alone and not for myself, attains while performing those, even while performing those karmas, he attains that peace, moksha, which is constant, naishtikim, sattva-shuddhim nitya vastu viveka sannyasa jnana ishtakramena jatamiti yavat. So Srimad Saraswati in his Vakyana he says that sattva-shuddhim nitya vastu viveka sannyasa jnana nishtakramena. So same stages he also quotes. He says that this moksha, peace, attained, constant, that more constant moksha is attained, generated through a succession of purification of mind, discrimination between eternal and non-eternal objects. So that is again acquisition of the jnana. So which is what Acharya said in his Bhashya. He says the jnana prapti, and Masu Saraswati uses the word here. He uses nitya vastu viveka. He says nitya vastu viveka. So that viveka itself, the differentiating between what is nitya, eternal, and what is non-eternal, that discrimination power, viveka itself is jnana, acquisition of that jnana, arising of that jnana. And then karma-sanyasa, then sannyasa, then jnana nishta. So then steadfastness in jnana. So these are the stages. He also says the same thing. So like this, one attains that stage of purification. So here, so that's how they attain. So the yukta, the one who is resolute in the faith, by giving up that happens. So what happens to the other hand, other person? On the other hand, however, he who is ayukta, the lacking resolute faith, he phale so he is being attached to the results, thinking I am doing this work for my gain, thinking like that, under the impulsion of that desire, the actions of desire again, kamakara. So there is under that kama prerita tayetyartha. So it is from the impulsion of desire, that is being prompted by the desire, such a person, such an ayukta person who does not have the resolute faith, gets bound. Therefore, tam yukto bhava. So Bhagavan telling Arjuna here and us, saying that you become resolute in the faith. This is the idea. Okay. So again, the ayukta, the one who is not engaged in the karma yoga, who is devoid of the idea that these actions are for Ishvara, not for myself, he does not have such an idea. He thinks that I am doing this work for my gain. Such a person gets being attached to the results, thinking that this work is certainly for my own benefit and things like that. When he thinks that, under the impulsion of desire, he becomes completely bound, comes wholly under the bondage of the world through the karmas, because he is performing, thinking that it is for himself and not dedicating that to Ishvara. Since this is like that, therefore, Arjuna, you also perform the karmas by becoming engaged in the karma yoga, not just perform the karmas, perform the karma yoga. That one should understand. That's what Sri Madhusudana Saraswati adds, saying that one should understand here that even though Bhagavan does not clearly say that, the message is as Bhashya here says, Tam Yukto Bhuha, you become resolute in faith. That's the message from Bhagavan when he says that don't be an ayukta. So again, we looked at the different stages, right? The first one is just having that desire, okay, that I want to do some karmas which is good, okay, doing some good karmas. Then that is performing the karmas. I want to do karmas, any karmas. Then that karma yoga, getting to the next stage where dedicating, you perform the karmas but dedicate everything to Ishvara. And then the stage is purification of mind and jnana prapti, and then sannyasa, and then jnana nishtata. All this will happen. So Bhagavan now, after having expounded what is said before, what is he said before? He said that karma yoga is superior, right? We previously said that one of impure mind, karma yoga is better than the unprepared renunciations, Karma-Sanyasa. That's what he said. Bhagavan now he starts explaining that for the one of pure mind, renunciation of all karmas, that is the Karma-Sanyasa is preferable. So again, up to now he said that you perform karma yoga. Why? Because Bhagavan has said that karma yoga is better for those of impure mind. And now, assuming you perform the karma yoga, mind is become pure. At that time, Bhagavan now starts explaining, saying that for those of pure mind, all the karma sannyasa is preferable. So again, two different parts. So beginning of Adhyaya, we looked at Arjuna asking karma yoga or karma sannyasa, which one is better? Tell me. Bhagavan said karma yoga, because Arjuna, you are of impure mind. So once you do follow this karma yoga, become the yukta, not ayukta. Currently you are ayukta. You are lacking resolute faith in this results, renouncing all the results and performing for Ishvara. So become yukta. So tam yukta bhavas, you become resolute. So once you do that, when you become purification, then the karma sannyasa is preferable. Then not karma yoga, karma sannyasa is preferable. So that's what Acharya also says, for Paramartha Darshi, the one who has experienced that supreme reality, Bhagavan explains in the next shloka. Again, as I said earlier, this linkage between the shlokas, if the Bhashyakaras and these Muslim Saraswati and others do not provide us, it becomes very difficult. Why Bhagavan just now is talking about yukta, ayuktas, two different ways, and suddenly what this shloka is about. Okay, so they give that chain which links the two parts, two shlokas, and they tell us, okay, now Bhagavan, having explained that karma yoga and its benefits and why you should follow, now he says that for those who have purified mind, he's talking about. If that purified, this shloka is talking about for the purified mind, where mind has been purified, it is, if we don't know that, this shloka does not become meaningful to us. So that's where Sri Bhagavad Pada and Srimad Saraswati and other Bhashyas, they explain us, help us linking those, building that bridge between the shlokas. So here Bhagavan says that Sarvakarmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurmanna karayan. So now sarvakarmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurmanna karayan. So this embodied man of self-control, having given up all the actions mentally, continues happily in the town of 9 gates without doing or causing others to do anything at all. Sarva, all karmani activities. Manasa is mind. So manasa is mind, and then sannyasa is having renounced. As aste means remains. Sukham happily. Vashi self-controlled. The self-controlled. Navadvara is of 9 gates. Pure means city. Dehi means embodied being, the one who resides in the Deha. Na means never. Eva is certainly. Kurvan means doing anything. Na means not. Karayan means causing to be done. So Acharya here explains that aste tishtati sukham. So aste tishtati sukham. So he continues happily, remains in that. Okay, so he tishtati, he remains in there. Sukham, happily he remains. Who? Sarvani karmani, sarva karmani, sanyasya parityajya nityam naivittikam kamya pratishiddham cha tani sarvani karmani manasa viveka buddhya. So he continues aste tishtati sukham. So he continues happily, having given up, that is sannyasa, having given up all the karmas. What are the type of karmas? Nitya, that is obligatory duties, like Sandhya Vandana, one should perform. Okay, so one should wake up in the morning, early morning, before sunrise, and blah blah blah, all those things. Okay, and performing sandhyas twice, 3 times a day. So nitya karmas, and then naimittika karmas, those arising on occurrence of some special events. For example, the parvana, so parvas, so Paurnamiya, Amavasya, Darsha Purnamasya, all these kind of things, or any festivals and things like that, that naimittika, shraddhas, and all those karmas, which are performed on special events or special days. And then kamya, those intended for securing some special ends, which are only optional. These kamya karmas are optional. Okay, again, so for example, you performing a puja, special puja. Okay, a Satyanarayana puja or a homa you're performing, or things like that, saying that kamya means there is a kind of desire attached to it. So for securing some special ends, either it could be Swarga, or it could be having exam pass. I'm going to go to temple today, do 100 rounds, okay, because I have got an exam next week. Okay, that is kamya karma. Okay, if you are, there is a very, very subtle difference between these nitya, naimittika, and kamya karmas. Okay, most of this you could say that they are nitya karma. You should always every day go and do 100 rounds to the temple. Okay, in the temple, that's is kind of a nitya karma as well. But when we purely say what is the pure nitya karma, okay, people say sandhya, vandana, agnihotra, and these kind of things are nitya karmas. And then again, nitya karma, naimittika. So the festivals and things like that, you could say that they are nitya karmas as well. You have to perform them. There is no exception. But again, because they are not performed, nitya again is word could be saying that it is always permanent, ever, right? Or it could be saying that daily. Okay. So again, naimittika, you want to say shraddhas and things like that, you have to perform. There is always one should perform. It may not be daily basis, but one should perform when that time is right. One has to perform those things. So that's again naimittika. But slightly separating that because it's performed on specific days and things like that, or timings and things like that, not on every day. So nitya here, normally nitya karma is used as a daily ritual kind of thing. Okay, so naimittika is occasional when there is a special occurrences or reasons. And then kamya again could be a naimittika. So for example, you are performing a vrata. I'm performing vrata on Chaturthi Vrata, I'm performing Pradosha Vrata, I'm performing that Vrata, this Vrata, whatever it is, Ekadashi Vrata, whatever it is, you're performing that. That could be seen as your Nitya Karma because you are always performing that Nitya. Every day you consider that as my obligation to perform those things. Ekadashi Vrata, that's my obligation to perform. That's my Nitya Karma, could be a Nitya Karma. But you could be saying that that's a Naimittika because I perform that on specific days. On Ekadashi day, I perform Ekadashi Vrata. Okay, so that's where I perform. Or you could be saying that I'm performing this Ekadashi Vrata because I want this gain. Okay, with some securing some special things, saying that I'm going to perform next 12 Ekadashi Vratas if I get this, or for to achieving that, I'm going to perform next 12 Ekadashi Vratas. Then it becomes Kamya Karma. Okay, same karma, you could call it Nitya, Naimittika, or Kamya Karmas. So, Acharya says that, so Sarva Karmani says that, Vitarasana Sarva Karmani Parityajya, he says that Nityam, Naimittikam, Kamyam, and then Pratishiddham. So, he says that, one more he says, here Pratishiddha. So, what is Pratishiddha Karma? So, that is Nishiddha Karma. So one again, Pratishiddha is Nishiddha Karma. So prohibited action. So one should not do. So for example, one should not drink alcohol. Okay, that's Shastra says that one should not kill cows. That's the Shastra says. You must never do those kind of things. It is completely different to the other three we looked at, Nitya, Naimittika, Kamya. So Nitya, Naimittika, Kamya, Shastra say perform those. Okay. But Pratishiddha or Nishiddha karmas are the prohibited action, saying that you must not do that. So, Acharya says that this sannyasi, the one who has reached purification of the mind, he continues happily, having given up all the karmas, that is Nitya karmas, Naimitya karmas, Kamya karmas, and Nishiddha karmas. For him, there is no karmas that he must perform or must not perform. There is nothing like that for him. Okay, and such as a person mentally through discrimination of the wisdom. So through the discrimination, that is karmado akarma sandarshanena santejnetyartha. So that is by having given up all the karmas by seeing inaction in action. So we looked at in the previous adhyaya as well, right? So karmani karmanya karmaya pashyet. So it is he sees action in action, inaction in action. So he sees that. So karmado akarma sandarshanena. So he having given up all the karmas by seeing inaction in action. Even though he's performing the action, he sees inaction. He thinks that he does not perform anything because he is not attaching himself to that. So, tekta vanyana kaya cheshta nirayasa prasanna chitra atmana anyatra nivritta sarva bahya prayojana iti sukham aste ityachet. So, ityachyate. So he says that, so Acharya here explains that freed from the activities of speech. So speech, mind and the body, effortless, placed in mind and devoid of all the external wants which are different from the self, he continues happily. So he is freed from all those activities, and because he sees that he is devoid of all the external wants, because that's different from the Atma. So because he is now in that Atma, that's the only thing in his mind, he continues happily, and that's what being said here. And Srimad Saraswati as well, he talks about the similar thing. He says that Ashuddha Chittasya Kevalat Sanyasa Karma-Yoga Shreyaniti Purvoktam Prapanchadhuna Shuddha Chittasya Sarvakarma Sanyasa Eva Shreyanityaha Nityam Naimityam Kamya Prasiddham Cheti Sarvani Karmani Manasa Karmanya Karmaya Pashyet Ityaktrokte Anakatra Swarupa Samyak Darshanena Sanyasa Paritejya Prarabdha Karma Vashadaste Aste Tishtatyeva. So here he adds little, but he says that again the same thing. Through the perfect realization of the self, which is not an agent, just like as it said in the previous Adhyaya 18th shloka, where Bhagavan said that karmanya karma ya pashyet. So he who finds inaction in action, this dehi, that is the embodied man, one who sees Atma as different from the body, having given up all the karmas, that is nitya, naimittika, kamya and pratishiddha karmas, mentally, that is, surely remains moving to the prarabdha karmas. So, and he says that sukham at ease, at ease because of the absence of actions of the body, speech, mind, which are the cause of the trouble. So he says he removes from himself from all that. So why does his body, speech, mind all not act just as they will? So for that, Bhagavan here explains on why does, where and how does the man of self-control, that is the one who has his organs under control, remain, how does, where and how he does. That's Bhagavan says that Navadware Pure, in the town of 9 gates. So what are those 9 gates in this body? Sapta Shishanyani Atmana Upalabdhi Dwarani. So Avak Dve Mutra Parisha Visargarte Taihi Dware Navadwarapuram Uchyate Shariram. So Acharya says that of the 7 are in the head for one's own experiences. So those 7 dwaras are in the head, that is 2 ears, 2 eyes, and nostrils, and the mouth. Those 7 are there in the head, and they are there for one's own experience, and the 2 are below for urination and defecation. They are there. So these are the 9 dwaras as possessed of those gates. It is called again town with 9 gates, Navadwara. So that's body is possessed of those gates. That's why it is Navadware Pure. So, and he being like a town, this body is considered as a town with 9 gates. The Atma as its own master, the one who remains there. So Atmaika Swamikam Tadartha Prayojanayascha Indriya Manobuddhi Vishayaihi Aneka Pala Vijnanasya Utpadakaihi Paurairiva Adhishtitam. So, and it is inhabited by organs, mind, buddhi, and the objects like citizens, as it were, which serve its needs and which are productive of many results and experience. So it's inhabited by these organs and things like that. Tasmin Navadware Pure Dehi Sarvam Karma-Sanyasa Aste. So renouncing all the actions, the Dehi, that is the embodied one, resides in that town with Navadwaras of the town of 9 gates. He resides in that. So he says again, the man of self-control, one who has aggregate of this body and mind under his own control. Where does he remain? He remains in this body of 9 gates, 7 in the head, 2 ears, eyes, nostrils, and 1 mouth, and 2 other organs called excretion and generation below. So in this body having these 9 gates, Dehi Deha Binna Padarshi Pravasiva Paragehe Tatpuja Paribhavadibhira Prahasyan Navi Shidan Hankara Mamakara Shunyastishtati. So Shunyasi Tishtati. So Shunyas Tishtati. So here again, Srimad Saraswati says that in that body having 9 gates, he remains like a stranger in another's house. So, like a stranger in the another's house, without being elated or dejected by the landlord's adoration or humiliation, etc., without egoing and self-interest. So, Pravasi iva. So he says that like a stranger, a traveler in another person's house, okay, a guest in another person's house. He stays there. He does not get attached to those the body things, the indriyas, manasu, buddhi, all these things. He does not get attached. He has and whatever that those indriyas and things do, he does not get affected by this. Like this, for example, staying in another's house where the actual owner either praises you or humiliates you or talks anything or anything like that, he does not get impacted by that. You remain, because without egoism, self-interest, you are there just to stay. So that's what it is. So that's like that. And here an objection, Acharya brings an objection here. He says that a question, what is the need of this specification? For all the embodied beings, be they are sannyasis or not, resides in the bodies for sure. That being so, what is this specification of this Navadvara Pure? So why you have to say that this Navadvara and all these kind of things? Because it is sannyasi or everybody, it is the same thing. Even for the ignorant man, the Atma resides in the same Navadvara, right? Pura. So in the body of that 9 holes, even for ajnas also it reminds, what is this reason for this specification? This is needless. So you might say that. So for that, Acharya explains that the answer is ajnaha dehi dehendriya sanghatamaatratma darshi sa sarvopi gehe bhomo asane va ase iti manyate nahi dehat देहमात्रात्म दर्शिना गेहे इव देहे असे इति प्रत्ययः संभवति. So the embodied one, this Atma, however, who is unenlightened, who is perceived merely the aggregate of the body and organs as self, he in his totality thinks that I am in a house on the ground or on the seat and thinks that the one who is unenlightened. But for the one who experiences the body alone as the Atma, there can certainly be no such convention that I am in the body like one who is using in a house. So again, so Acharya, what he is saying is, for the ignorant one, for the unenlightened, Ajnaha, for him, he does not think that this Atma is just residing in this body, because he thinks this body itself is Atma. Okay, that is the difference. So for the Ajna, he does not think that this Atma is living in this Navadvara Pura. He does not think that this Atma just residing there. Atma is not this body, or whatever the karmas performed by this body is not attached to the Atma. He does not think like that. Okay. He thinks that this body itself is ajna. This karmas, whatever I'm performing, whether I'm talking, whether I'm doing or walking, anything I'm doing through this body, the karmendriya, jnanendriyas, whatever I'm doing, and manasu, chit, buddhi, ahankara, all this, antakarana, everything, whatever I'm doing, through all that, whatever I'm doing, and the pranavayus, okay, prana, apana, and all those. So whatever that happens here in this body, he thinks that I am performing that. He does not think that Atma is just residing here and this body is different from Atma. He does not think that. So he thinks that I am the body, and like being in a house, okay, one's own being house. So it is like I'm in my own house. He does not think like that guest. Okay, he does not think like that guest, saying that he is just there to stay. He does not care whatever happening in that house. He does not care, but he thinks that this is my house. Okay, that's what he thinks. But देहादि संगात विदिरुक्तात्म दर्शिनस्तु देहे असे iti pratyaya upapadyate. So, but for the one who realizes the Atma, who has purified his mind, that person as distinct from aggregate of the body, etc., it becomes reasonable to have the conviction, I am in the body. So, for the one who has that purified, For him, he thinks that I am in the body. That is, he thinks that I am Atma, I am in this body, and whatever the karma is happening, whether it is Nitya, Naimittika, Kamya, or Nishiddha karma, whatever that one happens through this body, are not mine. I am not the doer. So he thinks that. So he says that Acharya explains here that Parakarmanam cha parasmin atmani avidya adhyaropitanam Vidyaya Viveka Jnanena Manasa Sanyasa Upapadyate. So it is reasonable that as a result of the knowledge in the form of discriminating wisdom, there can be mental renunciation of the karmas of the others, which have been ignorantly superimposed on the Paramatma itself. So again, the explanation is, it is because of that discriminating power or the viveka, because of that, as a result of that knowledge, he realizes that previously I had ignorantly superimposed all these karmas on this Atma itself. So, but उत्पन्न विवेक ज्ञानस्य सर्वकर्मसन्न्यासिनोऽपि गेहे इव देहे एव नवद्वारे पुरे आसनं प्रारब्धफलकर्म संस्कारशेषानुवृत्य देह एव विशेष विज्ञानोत्पत्तेः देहे एव अस्ते इति अस्तेव विशेषण फलं विद्वद् अविद्वत् प्रत्यय भेदापेक्षात्वात्. So he says that even in the case of one in whom has arisen the discriminating wisdom and who has renounced all the actions, there can be like staying in the house and the continuance of the body itself in the town of this 9 gate as a consequence of persistence of the remnant of the results of the past actions, the prarabdha karmas, because of the previous samskaras that's still there. Because of that, he might still, even when that discriminating power has come, he might still think that I'm residing, I'm in this Navdvarapura, continuance of the body itself. So he might think that as a consequence of persistence of the samskaras, he might think that there can be like staying in the house and results of the past actions. So that's because of the past actions, previous karma, samskara that's there. Because of that, which have started bearing fruit, and because the awareness of the distinct from the body arises while one is in the body itself. So while one is in this body itself, that differentiation arises through this discriminating power. And from the point of view of difference between conviction and conviction of the enlightened and the unenlightened person, the words like gehe bhumo asane va ase. So he continues in this body itself, do have a purpose to serve. That's why this is important. Why this Navadvara? Again, this explanation is coming because the objection of what is the speciality of explaining, what is the reason for explaining this Navadvara Pure. So Acharya explains that, and from that point of view, it is important convictions of the enlightened and unenlightened persons, differentiating that it is important. And although it has been stated that one continues in the body by relinquishing the karmas of the body and the organs, ignorantly superimposed on the Atma, still there may be apprehension that the direct or indirect agentship inheres in the self. So even then, even though you have that, while this body, you have that, you think that this superimposed on the Atma, the karmas are superimposed, even when then one continues in this body by giving up the Karma-Sanyasa and things like that, ignorantly still superimposing on that. That might happen. Anticipating that, Bhagavan says that naiva kurvan na karayan. He says that without himself being anything, not causing others to do, by that is not inducing the body and organs to activity and things like that. This Atma resides in this Navadvarapura. Atma resides in that without himself doing anything at all and nor causing anything to do or not inducing the body and organs to any activities. Atma just resides there. So it is not the doer. It is not the one who is making us making to do something. So that's what said. Now, when that's said, an objection comes saying that is it that the direct and indirect agentship of the embodied one, that is the Atma, inheres in the self and ceases to be after renunciation. So is it that this direct and indirect ownership of that the karmas what we perform ceases to be after renunciation? Does it disappear after the renunciation, as just like a traveler ceases with the stoppage of his movement? So when you're moving, after some time you stop, the movement stops, right? So you reach the destination, your movement stops. So is it like that, or is it that they do not exist owing to the very nature of the Atma? So that agentship does not exist at all because of the Atma. So is it that? So that's the question here. And Acharya explains that, saying that na asti atmanah swadat kartuttam karayatritvam cha. So the self by its nature has neither the direct or indirect agentship, because it is stated in the second adhyaya. We looked at where Bhagavan said avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikara and achintyoyam avikaryoyam uchyate. So he said that it is said that the self is unchangeable, avyakta, achintya, avikarya, unchangeable, and so on. It's been said. And we also look at in the 13th adhyaya where Bhagavan says that sharirastopi kaunteya na karoti na lipyate. O Kunti's son, although existing in the body, it does not act, nor it is affected. So it again here, it refers to Atma. So even though it exists here, it does not act or does not get affected. That's what we see in the 13th adhyaya. And in the second adhyaya, we looked at already saying that this is avikari. It is unchangeable. It is already said that. So, and it is also in the Upanishads as well, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, we see that Dhyayativa, Leelayativa. So it seems to meditate as it were. So even though it is not meditating, it seems to move as it were. It is, even though it does not move on its own. So it does not move or it does not do anything. So that's what's said in the Upanishad as well. So that's why this Atma, even though resides in that, it does not do anything. So an unenlightened person is the body itself owing to his self-identification with the body, but he is not a dweller in the body, and he is considering the support of the body as his own support, thinks that I am in the house or the ground, I am on the ground or on a seat and things like that. He sits like that. But he does not think that I am in the body. So that's the difference. But the enlightened, the one who has renounced all the karmas and has realized the Atma, has a different from the aggregate of this body, organs and things like that. He has different. He understands that I am in the body, owing to his perception of the difference. That's why the sublation through the knowledge of the actions of the body and things like that, superimposed on the actionless Atma through the ignorance, is itself what is called renunciation of the karmas. So Karma-Sanyasa here is Ataeva Dehadi Vyaparanam Avidyaya Atmanya Kriye Samaropitam Vidyaya Bhadayeva Sarvakama-Sanyasa Ityuchyate. So the sublation through the knowledge of the karmas of the bodies and so on superimposed on the action. So the removal of that superimposition of the karmas on the Atma, which was happening through the ignorance, removing that itself is known as Karma-Sanyasa. And on account of difference from the unenlightened and person, this Navadvara Pure, that statement is justified. And again, Bhagavan, to dispel the doubt that's again that might come, saying that is it not that one's own movement ceases when there is rest? Similarly, through the agentship of the self and its casualty in making other acts are inherent to it, still they cease after renunciation. So again, if you think that karma sannyasa one takes, then also just like the movement ceases when one takes rest, just like that all this superimposition also stops. So if you, for example, think that I'm sitting properly, you're also saying that this atma is not doing anything, right? So is it that, or is it that reality that they do not exist in this atma at all? These movements and things like that, it does not exist at all, just as surface or dirt, etc., does not exist in the sky, in the space. In the space, there is no surface or dirt or anything like that, just like that, it does not exist. Is that the question? Is that the way? What are you explaining? So when the question comes like that comes, Bhagavan explains we see that his response in the next sloka, where he says that na kartrutvam na karmani lokasya sujiti prabhu na karma palasangayogam svvavastu pravartate. Na kartrutvam na karmani lokasya sujiti prabhu na karma palasamyogam svvavastu pravartate. The Atma does not create agentship nor any objects of desire for anyone, nor association with the results of the actions. But it's the nature, it's the svabhava that acts. So na means neither, kartrutvam means sense of doership, na is nor, karmani means actions, lokasya of the people, Sridhati creates, Prabhu means Ishvara, na means nor, karmapala fruits of karmas, samyogam means connection, svabhava means the one's nature, tu means but, pravartate means enacted. So here Bhagavan explains that the nature is the svabhava, is the source of the karmas. He says that the Prabhu, the self, na srijati, does not create for anyone agentship by saying do this. It does not create that, or even any objects such as chariot, pot, palace, etc., which are intensely longed by everybody, longed for, nor even karma pala samyogam, association with the results of the karmas, like association of the creator of the chariot and so on, with the results of his work. Okay? Neither does the Prabhu, the self, the master, create agentship for anyone, for the body, that is, napi lokasya karmani sita, tamani ghatadhini swayam sujati tatrapi na bhavati ityad. Napi lokasya karma kartut krita vatas tatpala na tatpala sambandham sujati bhojayitapi bhoktapi na bhavati ityah. So it does not become the impeller by ordering you do, nor even does it, again, it here is referring to the Atma, self. So it itself create for anyone. Objects, most desirable things, like such as pots and things like that, it does not create nor ask anyone to do anything. That is to say, it does not even become an agent, nor even does it create for anyone who has performed the karmas, the association, the samyoga, the result of, with the result, the result is the phala, phala samyoga, the association of the result of the karmas. It does not get anything attached to it. Even the meaning is that it does not even cause anyone to become the enjoyer, nor even does it become the enjoyer itself. Nor it itself becomes the enjoyer. That follows from what Shruti says, for example, where Brihadaranyaka says that sasamana sannubho loka vanu sancharati dhyayati iva leelayati iva sudhi. So he says that Brihadaranyaka says that assuming the likeness of the intellect, it moves between the two worlds, it thinks as it were, and shakes as it were, is again as it were is important. It looks like it is moving and doing all those things, but it is not attached. And also in the 13th Adhyaya, where Bhagavan said that Sharirastopi kaunteya nakaroti nalipyate, it does not act, neither it affected, although exist in the body and things like that. Now the objection might come saying that if the embodied one does not do anything and does not make others to do, then who is it that engages in the karmas by doing or making others to do? Who actually does it? So for that, Bhagavan says that, but it is svabhava. It is svabhavastu svobhava svabhava. He says that one's own bhava, nature. Swa is own, swabhava is nature. So one's own swabhava, one's own nature, which makes it do. Avidya lakshana prakriti maya pravartate. So characterized by the ignorance, avidya, maya, which will be spoken of, for example, again later in the 7th Adhyaya, where Bhagavan speaks about this, where he says, Devihi, Daivihi. So since this is the divine maya, so where Bhagavan talks about that, we will look at that, but it is that maya, vidya, characterized by that. That's one's own svabhava, what that acts, that actually looks like acting. So is it not the Ishvara is the impeller? And now the objection might come, because is it not that Ishvara is the impeller and the individual soul, that is the jiva, is the agent? So you all might think that Bhagavan is the impeller and this jiva is the agent, just performs whatever Bhagavan says. And in support of that, again, there is an Upanishad statement as well, which says that Kaustaki Brahmana Upanishad, for example, says that Yeshavu heva sadhu karma karayati tam yamebhyo lokebhyo un ninishate yeshavu eva sadhu karma karayati tam yamadho ninishate. So it is this one. So again, it is this one here again, it's in Ishvara, who makes him undertake good work, whom he wants to elevate, and it is the one indeed who makes him undertake evil work, whom he wants to lead downwards. So here what the Upanishad Vakya saying is, it is Bhagavan makes us do good things and bad things, because if he wants us to push down, if he wants us to get push us down, then he makes us do the evil things. If he wants to help us, then he will make us do the good things. Okay, that's what it says. And then also in this Smriti, for example, in Mahabharata Vanaparva, there is a statement saying, Ajno Janturanish Aya Matmanah Sukkadayoho Ishvara Prerito Gachet Swargam Va Shwabhrameva Va. So this ignorant creature is not the dispenser of its own happiness and sorrow. Impelled by Ishvara, it goes to heaven or hell. So that is the Mahabharata Vanaparva shloka statement. So considering this, it is saying here that the Ishvara is the impeller, and we just heard that through this shloka that Ishvara or the Atma does not do anything. It just sits there in this Navadvarapura. It just does not do any actions that's happening, karmas that's happening is Swabhava. It is the nature, Prakriti, Maya. That's what it is doing. It is the avidya that's driven by that avidya it is happening. So when it is like that, when you say that, that is the avidya that is performing, maya that is performing, there are already statements in the Shrutis and Smritis which says that it is the Ishvara who makes us to do those kind of things. So when it is like that, how can you explain that? So, and this Jiva and Ishvara, there is a possibility of being affected by the dharma and adharma, virtue and vice and things like that. One on the account of being agent and impeller, it might happen, and being the enjoyer and dispenser of the enjoyment. Therefore, how it is valid that you can say that it is the svabhava that makes us act? How can you say that? When the question like that comes, Bhagavan explains in the next shloka, he says that nadatte kasachit papam na chaiva sukritam vibhu ajnane navrutam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. The omnipresent neither accepts anybody's sin nor even virtue. Knowledge remains covered by ignorance, thereby the creatures become deluded. So na means not, adatte means accept, kasachit anyone's, papam sin, na means and, cha means na means not, cha means and, eva means certainly, sukritam means virtuous deeds, kritam means deeds, actions, su means virtuous good, vibhu means omnipresent, Ishvara, ajnanena means by ignorance, avrutam means covered, jnanam means knowledge, tena means by that, muhyanti means by or deluded, jantavaha means the living entities. So this shloka we will look at next time when we get there. Again, Bhagavan is here is explaining how Atma is not attached to any of this karmas. So look at that next time.